Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Show as presented by the Denver Post. I'm Woody Paige. We'll be joined by a myriad of great, talented journalists during the course of the next hour as we start the Sports Show with a lot going on and a lot on our minds. And speaking of that, the big stuff. The mind of Manning. Is it matter over mind? Manning over mind? Does it matter what the mind does? Or can Peyton Manning outthink the Steelers on Sunday? The Rams are going to L.A., back where they came from. I think they said in St. Louis at one point, why don't you go back where you come from? And they said, okay. Stan Kroenke said, that's what I'll do. It's odd that the people of St. Louis are complaining when twice in St. Louis history, they've taken franchises from other cities. The Chicago Cardinals to begin with, then they lost to Chicago. You keep up with this. Get a pencil at home. The Chicago Cardinals went to St. Louis. Then the St. Louis Cardinals went to Arizona. The Los Angeles Rams went to St. Louis, and the St. Louis Rams have gone back to Los Angeles, if you're keeping up with that. Well, what's interesting also is the Los Angeles Chargers could be, because the San Diego Chargers had the right to join the St. Louis Rams at the new stadium that Stan Kroenke is building. The house is Stan built. The LA Chargers, when I keep saying that, it's because the San Diego Chargers started as the San Diego Chargers in the first 2 years of the franchise history. So the people of San Diego, if they complain, they stole the Chargers from Los Angeles to begin with. And who's left out in all of this? The Oakland Raiders, of course. We'll talk about that during the course of the day. And this Sunday, we've just gone through Christmas. Think about that. We just finished Christmas season. Is this Chris must season? Has Chris Harris Jr. have the right attitude and the right health to get even with the Pittsburgh Steelers who burned him in Pittsburgh? We're going to start the show today. We've moved it to the top because it's the best segment we have. And joining us is a guy that is one of those talented journalists I'm talking about. And who are you, since I think you're so talented?
My name is Hugh Johnson. I'm a digital sports producer with the Denver Post. And today we are starting with what's trending now.
So give us a start.
All right, Woody. Some sad news today. Former NFL running back Lawrence Phillips was found dead in his prison cell early today. He was 40 years old, and the officials suspect suicide. Woody, if he had gotten things together, could he have been a great NFL running back?
Sure, but you just mentioned it. He couldn't get things together. When he was at Nebraska, he got into trouble because he was accused of pulling his girlfriend's down the stairs by her hair.
Right.
And he was accused of harassing her and assaulting her. Not sexually assaulting her, but assaulting her. And that led to just a stream of consciousness and a stream of accusations, a stream of problems for Lawrence Phillips. He ended up going to jail. He really never had even an adequate NFL career. His career at Nebraska ended. It's sort of like Maurice Clarett because of the problems he got into. There also was the running back from Mississippi that went to Oklahoma, and I'm spacing on his name. He didn't have problems with the law. He just had problems of his own. So there were three great running backs in college. Clarett played in the national championship game, scored a key touchdown in overtime for Ohio State. They let their personal lives overwhelm their professional football aspirations. In Lawrence Phillips' case, we'll never know how great he could have been, but you can't blame anybody else but him. He had problems. There were accusations about him in jail, in prison, actually causing the murder of someone else. He kept getting the sentences added on to what he started with, and I think it was a case where it overwhelmed him at one point.
Well, Woody, in other news, Al Jazeera has announced that their news channel, Al Jazeera America, will shut down by the end of April. They are, of course, the news outlet behind the HGH allegations surrounding Peyton Manning and his wife, Ashley. What are your reaction to this news?
Well, I've chuckled while you said that because I thought for one person that we know closely, it's about 5 or 6 months too late. They made the accusations about Peyton Manning in a 45-minute report. I watched it not long ago. What they did do, I'll say this in defense of them, and I'm not here to defend them or accuse them. They have been a very powerful, very accurate news outlet throughout the world. Because of the name, I think a lot of people in this country who are opposed to people from the Middle East or Arab people think, oh, this is backed by some terrorist group. Right. No, it is a very substantial news organization that has brought a lot of powerful scoops about what's happened in the Middle East to this country, and I think that network's provided more information than a lot of us who, and I'm including myself, outlets in this country that really didn't know what was going on over there. Now, having said all that, I watched the report. There were angry reactions. There's a threat, not a threat. There's going to be a lawsuit, Ryan Howard and Ryan Zimmerman. And Peyton Manning has said he would wait till the end of the season to decide. As I said, I watched the report. They did insert into the report after all of the athletes responded. They did update their reports to include at least the responses. Now, that probably was a thought of, if we include that, then if we have to go to court on that. Secondly, I thought the report was shoddy reporting. They used a source that recanted himself that really was not involved on a major level with any of these athletes. It seemed to me when I was watching the report here, and I don't know if you watched it, that he was trying to impress a guy and sell him a bunch of stuff and saying, oh, I know this guy and I know this guy. It's sort of like the old Fuller Brushman who might come and say, oh yeah, I've sold everybody on your block except you. Right. I got that feeling from the report. In regard to shutting down, I assume they had a lack of. I don't think it was a result of this report. I think it was that financially they probably were not doing well in this country based on what basically people's feelings about a network with that name on it.
All right, that's it for me today, Woody.
Well, thank you. Great to see you again. We'll see you, I hope, tomorrow and throughout the playoffs on Denver Post TV and the Sports Show. Live guest, and I think he qualifies, appear on the Sports Show, courtesy of Papa John's, the day after every Avalanche win. That didn't happen last night. I thought you'd bring that up. They got shut out by Ben Bishop,
who said that it was good to shut out Kroenke's team
because he was a big St. Louis Rams fan.
Yeah.
Every day after an Avalanche win, get 50% off your regular menu price online. You go online. That's the way I order my Papa John's, and long before they became a sponsor, I was ordering off Papa John's because I was explaining to Mark Kiszla one day, you can build a pizza and you can watch it being built in front of you. Have you ever done that?
I've done it.
Yeah, you start with the crust and you say, I want cheese, I want marinara sauce, I want ham on it, I want pepperoni, and then you see your actual order, and then they track the order. It's a very simple process. You don't have to talk to people on the phone. You don't have to worry about your order because it's going to come quickly. It's going to come hot, and you want to add a dessert. So use the online promo code AVS at the new papajohns.com.
When the Avs win, you win at Papa John's. All season long, the day after every Avs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at papajohns.com by entering promo code AVS. That's right. Just enter promo code AVS online at papajohns.com the day after every Avs win for 50% off your entire online order.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
That's okay. We can get by with that. Mark Kiszla has joined us directly from Dove Valley. We'll get right to him. But first, Madison's short mailbag today. And I mean that figuratively, not literally. What do you got for us, Madison?
All right. So our first tweet is from double_dizzle. And he wants to know, which Giants head coach candidate would you go with?
Well, we know that Hugh Jackson has taken the Cleveland Browns job. And so he was probably number 2 on the wish list for a lot of teams to Adam Gase, who's already taken the Miami job. So now the Giants are thinking about the third guy. I would think Doug Peterson offense coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, has moved up maybe to number 3 on a lot of lists. Tom Coughlin's looking at Philadelphia. He's looking at San Francisco. They're examining him. I would guess that it won't be Chip Kelly, but that would be an interesting choice if the Giants made it. If Coughlin went to Philadelphia, Chip Kelly.
They traded coaches, that would be awesome. Is either Shanahan in the running for this job?
No.
And so my question is, I'll take it, pardon me, double dizzle, but I'll take it back to Denver. Which Shanahan will get a job first? Will it be Mike or Kyle, or will either one of them be a head coach?
Well, I think that if I were an owner, even though Kyle Shanahan dropped on the popularity meter this year with Atlanta, he had to take a lot of the blame for Atlanta having a really poor season. If I were an owner, I'd say, Kyle Shanahan, I'll take you as a head coach, and you can bring your father with you as offensive coordinator.
You think Mike would agree to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he would do it to help his son get ahead, because I think Mike's beginning to realize he's not going to get another job. But I think if you sign Mike Shanahan, who really wanted the Miami job or the San Diego job, well, the San Diego job went away. Mike McCoy's already hiring new coaches out there. So the two places he really wanted to go, warm weather cities, disappeared in front of his eyes. Adam Gase got the one job. I think that the only way he can get a job is to promise that I'll bring Kyle Shanahan as my offense coordinator. But I think it should be reversed, and I think Mike Shanahan should take that.
Awesome. And
I don't think he's going to get one, though. Cleveland's gone away now. Where is it going?
our second tweet is from
49ers, maybe? I'm sorry.
Huh?
We're stuck. Okay. Let me just add, I think the 49ers have some interest in Mike Shanahan, so that's, I think, the one possibility.
Could he recreate the magic there? He was the offensive coordinator when they were winning Super Bowls.
I think if he brought his son, and if he brought in a defensive coordinator that was really good, Wade Phillips would be the perfect matchup with Mike Shanahan again. Go ahead.
All right, and so Dogbone23 has a question about the Packers and Cardinals game. Do you think the Packers can beat the Cardinals this time around?
I didn't think the Packers could beat the Redskins, and they crushed the Redskins. So I've been a Packers doubter. So I'm going to stay a Packers doubter. No, they got no shot in this game.
Arizona has been, I've been on Arizona since the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
You've been on Seattle for a long, long time. But I've been there. I thought Carson Palmer, his record as a starting quarterback with Arizona when he wasn't injured is amazing. It's like 21-4 or something. It's just a stunning record. Their defense is outstanding. John Elway and I will go to the death, me first, still debating who was a better draft pick, Von Miller or Peterson. And I think one of them has played in every Pro Bowl, has been a great returner, a great interception man. So I'm not sure that, maybe you and I will debate that one day. No, Packers have got to prove to both of us that they can go and beat the Cardinals. They lost 30 points about 3 weeks ago. I don't see them going in there and they could improve 50% and still lose by 2 touchdowns.
Right. Perfect. And then the last tweet that we selected for today.
It's from Jamie.
It is from Jamie and Connie, and I.
You remember what it is? Just
I
tell us
do.
what it is.
So, do you think that Chris Harris will get a redemption this week and prove himself, and by covering Antonio Brown?
Well, we don't know about Antonio Brown. I would
If he
suspect
does
he's
play,
going to
yeah.
play. I think he'll clear protocol the extra days.
Did he
Probably gonna
wink
help.
at you and let you know that he was going to play this week?
But if I had to guess, I would say 90% that he's going to play. I think they'll figure out a way to get him through protocol. Chris Harris is not going to stop and shut down Antonio Brown. What he wants to do is limit him to yaks
Yards
after catches. And that, I think, is more important, that you tackle well. That's what I think they had about 175 yards after the catches. So it's okay to let him catch the football because we don't think, or at least I don't think, I'm saying this, Ben Roethlisberger, we'll talk more about him later, I don't think Ben Roethlisberger's arm's going to be strong enough to be throwing it 50 yards. So you let Antonio Brown catch passes in front of you, but then you make sure you wrap him up.
Okay, so my idea is a little different, and I don't think it's about redemption for Chris Harris Jr. I do think it's about Ben Roethlisberger. How do those cornerbacks, whether it's Chris Harris or Talib or Roby, look at Roethlisberger? Do you jump some routes this week because you want to test that arm, or do you just play it straight like Ben? You're considering Ben's 100%.
And I would start out that way. I would assume he's 100% starting out the game and then feel him out during the course of the game.
Okay.
That's my guess. And thank you very much, Madison.
Thanks,
Sorry
guys.
we had a little bit of technical difficulties,
Okay.
but you're
You
flexible
hung in
like
there.
the rest of
You're a
us.
pro.
Thanks.
You're a pro.
So take your podium. Oh,
No, I'd say I didn't have it today.
great. This segment brought to you by John Elway Dealership, Colorado's #1 Chevrolet dealership.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Mark Kiszla, Woody Paige on the Sports Show is presented by the Denver Post. Mark, as always on Wednesdays, fresh from Dove Valley. What have you got to report that we wouldn't have known before you got here?
I didn't know until I was out there. Brock Osweiler did not practice today. He's expected to work tomorrow. And Gary Kubiak said that there's a possibility that they will have to have 3 quarterbacks active because he's not 100% sure how effective Brock can be at this point in the week. That knee sprain was worse than Brock let on and is worse than I thought it was. I thought Brock was conveniently hurt the first day back to practice so Manning could run the practice and Brock could ease his way back into the rotation as a second stringer. But Brock was throwing the ball a short distance after practice today, and Kubiak said, I will at least have to consider having 3 quarterbacks on the active roster against Pittsburgh.
But, I mean, who was the guy they signed in the season that was here for about 2 weeks?
I forgot him.
Anybody remember? I mean, they brought in a veteran. Oh, the old Minnesota Vikings quarterback.
Yeah.
He ended up signing somewhere else, didn't he?
Yeah.
God, that's terrible.
The guy from Florida State?
The guy before Bridgewater. The Tebow beat. We're in Minnesota. He was the starting quarterback for the Vikings. Anyway, Trevin Siemian would presumably be the 3rd quarterback. I don't feel good about this, but I felt all along and said it to you that I thought Brock Osweiler was hurt worse, and I think that led to making the decision easier.
It absolutely did, and it did factor into the decision. And I was talking to Troy Rink, our Broncos beat guy, about this today. If the Broncos had played in the wild card round, I don't think Brock Osweiler could have played quarterback last weekend. I think he'll be healthy enough to be the backup this weekend, but he would not have. It would have been a very easy decision had the Broncos played last weekend because Peyton Manning would have been the only healthy quarterback.
And it would have been a lot easier for Mark Kiszla if he had that information, because then he wouldn't have gone on record in a column saying that Brock Osweiler should start in the postseason. But that's why I kept thinking that he hit it in the first half against San Diego. I think that's the 2 things happened. One, that's why he was playing so poorly, and that's why they went to Peyton Manning.
It may have definitely had a factor, and it could have been a deciding factor of, hey, Peyton's the healthier quarterback right now. He's the more experienced quarterback. Let's get him in there.
Yeah. And I think that might have happened in the game. I'd have to go back to the point of where he got injured, because they were in a position where, because people are calling me saying Brock would have won it if he stayed in the game. No, he wouldn't have won the game. He was hurt pretty badly in that game. And if I knew exactly when, and it's been reported on a hit that happened when he said that Demaryius Thomas was open on the play if he could have gotten him the ball, but he was hit first. But if you notice, then they had no offensive game, even though they were in position to. They were kicking field goals, and they
And
were
at the end of the
stopping
half,
San Diego.
they didn't go for extra. They didn't go for 3 points or a touchdown. They sat on
Took
the
a
ball
knee.
and let the time run out, and so Brock was dinged, and more than we knew.
Anything else out of the defensive players that have been hurt? I think that's even, forgive me, but that's even more critical than Brock Osweiler at this point.
The Broncos firmly believe that they wouldn't have lost that game against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh had their starting safeties been healthy, and they believe that their secondary is going to be at full, if not full capacity, near full capacity in this playoff game, and that's going to make a big difference.
They probably could have gotten out of that Pittsburgh game if David Bruton Jr. hadn't broken a leg and then gotten speared and had a concussion protocol too. How much is Peyton Manning's mind value going to mean in this game going forward? Is that now, I mean, he's known as the most cerebral quarterback in the history of the NFL, but is he at a point where his body is more important than his mind, because his body has to perform, or is his mind the one thing that can get him through the next 3 games?
You know, I do admire Peyton Manning for his mind. He has a beautiful mind, maybe the most beautiful mind ever to play quarterback. I think the beautiful mind is one reason why he's not better in the playoffs. I think a couple things. I think something always goes sideways in the playoffs, and your mind doesn't help you then. You just have to react. You have to be an athlete, and you have to react on instinct. I also think during the regular season, he outstudies everybody. But when you get to the playoffs, there aren't any secrets anymore, or the amount of secrets get reduced. So his mental advantage in the playoffs is less because teams are better scouted. He's better scouted when you get to the playoffs.
I'm going to make an analogy here that you will, of all people I know, will appreciate. It's sort of like George Karl in the playoffs and the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. George always told me, I remember I was sitting in a mall one way and I was talking to George Karl early in his career here, and he said, when you limit the number of possessions, that takes away a lot of the advantages we have in the regular season.
Right.
And so, you know, he was a one-and-done coach, and that eventually got him fired, because once you got in the playoffs, teams knew enough about you and they were able to slow down that fast pace. Maybe there's something to it. I went back and looked. I'm going to tell you something you don't know. Peyton Manning's been in 20 postseason games. He's 11, 13, 24 postseason games, among the most in the history of the NFL. I think you'd be surprised to know that his statistics are about the same in the wins and the losses. Are you aware of that?
His statistics in the playoffs are not that bad. I mean, he had the one game against San Diego in which he was terrible, but other than that, he's not that much of a different quarterback statistically, he's not that much different in the postseason than he is in the regular season, especially when you take into account there are no Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. I mean, there are no bad teams in the playoffs. So you would think that every quarterback's statistics would go down a little in the playoffs.
Advantage mentally and physically. Manning or Roethlisberger? We'll do this quickly, but who's healthier?
I think Manning might be healthier right now. And I never would have thought that. In the first playoff game, Peyton Manning's the starter for the Broncos, and he'll be the healthiest quarterback on the field.
Or on the sideline.
Yeah. And for who has the advantage mentally, well, I say we should ask Emmanuel Sanders about that. He seems to think that Peyton's better at preparation.
Great point. If you missed that, Emmanuel, when he came here, that he didn't say, I don't think he said that mentally. What he said is that Peyton Manning is a better leader than Roethlisberger. And Roethlisberger's never got no of that. Advantage, Emmanuel Sanders or Ben Roethlisberger, because they both probably have some issues going on that date back.
Motivationally, I'd say the advantage goes to Big Ben.
This segment brought to you by Papa John's. Order Papa John's Broncos 18 special today. Think about this. 2 large, 3-topping pizzas. What would be your 3 toppings? I never asked you that.
Sausage, you got to have sausage. I'm Polish. I like sausage. Sausage, sausage, sausage.
Oh, 3 sausage. Sausage, pepperoni, and onions. And
Okay.
the onions kind of come together with them. 2 large, 3-topping pizzas. So the other one will go with sausage, sausage, sausage. For $18. For only $18. That's why it's called the Broncos 18 special. Using the promo code Broncos18 online at thenewpapajohns.com.
For our Players' Choice pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one, I can work out like one, I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Better football.
At thenewpapajohns.com.
Said before you got here that we just finished a time of year that's called Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're at a week. On Sunday, it'll be Christmas play.
Chris must play. Okay, Chris Harris must play well. Whew! I wasn't sure I was going to get that one.
The secondary. Let's expand it beyond him. Talib has been probably the most consistent player on the field all year long, even though he missed a game. He was suspended. Yep. As you called him, one of the 3 Stooges. He would have been Curly Larry Moe and sometimes Shimp. He would have been Shimp. You know,
the old eye poke.
Yeah. But he's played 15 games. TJ Ward was suspended a game. He's missed about 4 other games because of injury. Stewart is still injured, hamstring problems again, but says he's going to play. And Chris Harris Jr. has probably played all 16 games. Which of the 4 is going to be most important to the Broncos' success on Sunday? And is it Chris Harris Jr. who's seeking that redemption, if you will?
You know what? I have faith in all of the guys in the secondary, but also the guys in the secondary, as good as they are for the Broncos, they have to admit that Antonio Brown, if he's on the field, is a better football player than they are.
MVP.
And so you have to back off the testosterone a little bit. The Broncos are very proud, and rightfully so, about this no-fly zone. You can't come here. They've got to use zone against the Steelers. And so it's not about, I'm going to tweak this question, it's not about Chris Harris against Antonio Brown. It's about Wade Phillips saying, fellas, I know you're great, but we were trying to win the Super Bowl, and just like we're telling Peyton Manning, you don't have to throw it 45 times a game. We don't have to play man all game against Pittsburgh to prove how tough we are.
Except that I would just say to you, they've been successful with it all year long. Take away the Pittsburgh game. There are a lot of issues going on in that game. They were missing their 2 safeties.
Yeah, they were not
But
healthy.
when you have all 4 of them together, nobody's healthy this time of year, totally. You know that. Everybody's got scars and bruises and all sorts of problems. What you do when you then use more zone is that cuts down your ability to put pressure on Roethlisberger. And the strength of the pressure is not only outside rushers, but bringing pressure from somewhere like TJ Ward or even Talib on occasion. I don't remember much of Talib, but Chris Harris Jr. at least giving you the threat of somebody who's going to get into the backfield, of using your linebackers. So if you can play zone, you're not going to have Brandon Marshall, if he's totally healthy, in coverage. You're not going to have Trevathan, who's I think he's a good guy in coverage. Because if you're going to try and send those guys, that would be the one thing. Let me follow up with that question with you. Because I'm going to tell you something that I learned before the Bengals game. Who has the better receiving core? We say Antonio Brown's the best receiver in the league. Gary Kubiak said he'd voted for him for MVP. I told you at the end of the season, I think he could have qualified as the MVP over Cam Newton. You got Whedon, you got Antonio Brown, you got Heath Miller, who's a quality
tight end. Yes, has been for a long time.
And Bryant, who made maybe the best catch of the year over a guy in New York. Those four guys versus Emmanuel Sanders, who was playing great, and then they didn't throw to him in the second half. He wanted redemption in that game against the Steelers. He wanted to show them. Demaryius Thomas, who played better at the end of the year. Owen Daniels, who played better at the end of the year.
True.
And Norwood, who played better at the end of the year. And you've got Palmer, who comes in on occasion. Which receiving core would you rather have in this game?
Pittsburgh by far. No offense to Emmanuel Sanders, no offense to Demaryius Thomas. If you're going to give me the best player on the field and Antonio Brown is healthy, then Antonio Brown makes the difference between those two.
He had about 1,800 yards in receptions. I think he had, I don't know exactly how many catches. He had more than anybody else on the field. But you had a combined total of about 2,600 yards by Sanders and Demaryius Thomas.
They're not chopped liver. I'm not saying that.
So I'm not so certain that if I'm Peyton Manning, I don't want, if we haven't talked about Bubba Caldwell, he's been hurt.
There you go.
I guess, I haven't already talked about him this week. I assume he's going to be back on the field. That the Broncos do have guys. Virgil Green comes in off and gets a catch every once in a while. We know that Vernon Davis has been a total waste of time. And I wonder if he'll even play the game other than on special teams. Check out Rocky Mountain's Men Clinic, because sexual issues can be symptoms of other more serious problems and conditions like diabetes, strokes, heart attacks, high blood pressure, prostate issues, stress, obesity, and so many other issues that can lead to the sexual problems you might be having, man. They have diagnostic ultrasound, testosterone, PSA testing, all to get you back in business and back in better health. It's just not about your sexual health. It's total health for you. Take your time out one day and go get tested. It could change your life. RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com, 720-440-7900.
Is a lack of intimacy at home starting to affect your performance on the course? There are many factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol that may be contributing to your erectile dysfunction. Get back in the game with one visit to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, offering same-day solutions for all erectile dysfunction and premature issues. And you get to try the medications containing FDA ingredients right in their office. Let the providers at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic help you get your confidence back. And be sure to ask about the $99 limited time special. Call today.
This is Sports Show. That's Woody Paige. I'm Mark Kiszla. Let's talk LA football. I'm not sure the people in LA really care if they have a team or not, but they have a team now, and Stan Kroenke, our old pal Stan Kroenke's moving the Rams to Los Angeles. Do you agree with the decision?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts here. We had a former sports editor of the Los Angeles Times on several months ago, and he said Los Angeles has done more for the National Football League than any other place in the country. He told me it's like 17 franchises have used the threat of going to LA to get
a stadium built.
New stadiums. And we can go through Jacksonville, who got an expanded stadium in Jacksonville, which they didn't need. We could talk about teams all over the league. Tampa, you go Atlanta, you go to all these teams. So they've lost that thread. Because if you are Denver, say, and you needed a stadium, you can't threaten to go to LA. Are people going to say, oh, You're threatening to go to Portland? I don't think so.
It's doesn't have the same hammer.
Okay, so that's the number one issue. I found it odd, and it's almost sad that the Oakland Raiders go away. come back in the future.
They were the redhead stepchild in this. There is no doubt.
That Al Davis lives forever because they still hate Al Davis. Mark Davis is just an extension of Al Davis. San Diego Chargers have the right now to negotiate to join Stan Kroenke. Well, it's an interesting aspect because the Chargers use their argument that 25% of their people come from
Orange County, the greater LA area.
So the stadium they were building was a little closer to San Diego. Now these people in San Diego have got to work harder to get up to where the stadium is. So I think the question is going to be how many people are in San Diego are still going to be Chargers fans and go up the Coast Highway. It's not so bad on Sundays. Nice drive, go up there. I'm hopeful, and I think you'll agree. We don't always agree. I'm hopeful that San Diego's city fathers say, "Oh man, we got another chance here. Let's work out a deal."
And they better get it going and get it going quick. I think the NFL made the right move. You and I have talked about that the NFL really wanted to do right by the Spanos family because they view the Spanos family as a long-time good steward of the game. But Stan Kroenke had the better business plan, the better site, and the better stadium plan. And this just in, rich guys like money, so they pick Stan. But I'll go to your point. I do think San Diego has a little window of opportunity here because the Spanos family, I don't think, really wants to be partners with Stan Kroenke because Stan Kroenke is a tough guy to be partner with because he wants to be king of the world. Even if the contract is written that we're equal, if Stan's building the stadium, I'm never quite sure that I'm going to be an equal partner in that stadium.
Because in New York, you do have equal partnerships.
Right.
The Giants get it one week. They have colors that kind of match both of them. You have different crowds. You know that. We've spent enough time in New York. The Jets crowd is younger. It's boisterous. It's a different kind of louder crowd. The Giants is more like Yankees versus Mets kind of.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
They come from different parts. I found that out living in New York. You go, it's not New York. It's not Manhattan. Nobody in Manhattan. Nobody lives in Manhattan that goes to games. It's either you are the Bronx area or you're the New Jersey area.
Right.
Really.
They really are the New Jersey Giants. Would the Chargers be in L.A. in 2016, or do you and I have at least one more chance to see the Broncos play in San Diego?
I read carefully this morning all the information I could find on it that according to the latest survey in San Diego, that a vote in June would now pass. The feeling was, let's don't take it to the voters. They're not going to prove it. Well, if you're the voters and maybe you tweak some of the stuff where the Chargers say we'll pay X amount like Pat Bowlen did here.
Yeah.
He had to do that in order to get the approval here. That if they tweak some stuff, I think the voters would go, we got nothing else. They may not care like LA didn't care. We don't have a basketball team. We don't have a baseball team. We don't have a hockey team.
Yeah. You're laughing at Sandy. They have a beach.
Well, they have a baseball team, but it's like Denver. You go, man, just wait till we get a Major League Baseball team. Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village is Colorado's #1 volume Lexus dealer, conveniently located at I-25 in Bellevue. View the current specials, view the waterfall, view the pool tables, view the movie room, but view the cars. Cooney Lexus of GreenwoodVillage.com.
Hello, my name is Greg Stone, President and General Manager, and I would like to personally thank you for making Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village the #1 Lexus dealer in Colorado.
Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village for exceptional customer service and world-class amenities. Take in the beauty of the Rocky Mountains from our rooftop patio. Relax while enjoying a movie in our premium theater. This is the ultimate luxury car buying experience. Visit Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village or Cooney Lexus of Colorado Springs. Click CooneyLexus.com.
Mark Kiszla, premier columnist in Colorado. Woody Paige, Paisley shirt. They asked me today, think I was giving up on Paisley at the end of the year. And I said, well, when you look in your closet and you only have paisley shirts that are not that are clean, you kind of keep going with the paisley.
Yeah.
And Vince said it's the year of the paisley, so we're going to do that.
That's pretty good.
This is the 8th meeting in the playoffs between Denver and Pittsburgh, and I heard all weekend, well, and leading up to, they don't have a rivalry. They've had a pretty good rivalry. They played Pittsburgh a lot in the regular season. They're two AFC teams going back to Pittsburgh came over when the Broncos joined the AFL. I think it's been a great rivalry. There's some memories and there's some bad memories. You have seen most of them. I've seen all of them, starting with the first one. Terry Bradshaw and Steelers came to town, steel curtain, Broncos upset them. Terry Bradshaw said, Woody, tell those people, I didn't know him very well. He said, Woody, tell those people to enjoy this because it'll never be the same. And he was right. It was, your first time, and it never can be duplicated until you win a Super Bowl in '97. What are your most vivid memories of this series?
My most vivid memories, and there are a lot of them because I've been here since 1983, and there is some significant playoff history between these two franchises. The one I remember is the AFC Championship game.
2005.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah. And there is no Patriots, and the Broncos have home field advantage, and they're going to the Super Bowl. And I remember I got dropped off a long ways from the stadium because it was a nice January afternoon. It was 50 degrees plus. I walked to the stadium, and I thought, am I in Pittsburgh? Because everybody walking to the stadium was going, let's go Steelers. I'm like, what? And I walked in there, and there was that terrible yellow everywhere. And John Lynch later told me that shook up the Broncos. They lost the game. They lost it 34-17. And if you ask me, that was the beginning of the end of the Mike Shanahan dominant era of this franchise.
I'm going to talk about 1977. The Broncos had a defense that's comparable today. People want to compare the Orange Crush defense and this defense. Well, until this defense gets to the Super Bowl.
No comparison in your mind.
I'm not going to compare it. I mean, that defense was better because that offense was worse. Whatever you say about the Broncos offense, that offense...
77 offense was even worse than this year.
Craig Morton, who threw about 21 times a game. They had average running backs. You think about it. Their wide receivers, I don't care if you're a Broncos fan then, who Jack Dalbin, he was a guy who came out of the World Football League, or USFL. Haven Moses was a nice veteran possession receiver. Jack Dalbin was a guy who would run down the field. Beyond that, there wasn't much in wide receiving. Tight ends, they had a good one, Riley Otis. Running backs, John Keyworth, Rob Lytle, Otis Armstrong. Otis Armstrong was the best of the bunch, but Rob Lytle got as many carries. John Keyworth was a fullback. Craig Morton was a very good game manager at that point in his career. Dallas had given up on him, Giants had given up on him. I have my memory is Haven Moses doing flips down the field after the game. That team was more together than this team will ever be. And I'm going to tell you something we didn't know. I heard Brady Quinn on the Fan yesterday, and they asked him about the starting. You and I have wondered if he was going to start that playoff game between Pittsburgh and Denver. He said
the Tim Tebow to Demaryius Thomas overtime touchdown game.
Brady Quinn said they had third down packages for him to pass. And he thought it was kind of funny because if he came in the game, Pittsburgh would know why he was coming in the game, to pass.
Yeah.
That he wasn't going to start the game, but they never got to those packages because the Broncos actually, and Tim Tebow, made a lot of yardage on first and second downs. You remember, they moved up and down the field, had a lead. Roethlisberger had to bring them back in the game. Those two games, bookends, 1977 and 2011
season.
Those bookends, there have been a number in between, AFC Championship, first-round games, going to Pittsburgh the year they won. They were a wild card, went in there and won, and went on the Super Bowl. That's probably the most important one of all time.
Yeah, just get open. John Elway telling Shannon Sharp that on third down.
So
and you just proved there is a lot of playoff history between these two teams.
We'll take a news break with Molly Hughes and continue on the Sports Show with Mark Kiszla and Woody Paige.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom. More trouble for the Colorado Department of Human Services as it fails to come into compliance with federal guidelines for social services funding, resulting in a $1.2 million penalty. This newest sanction is from 2013, and it comes on the heels of a $4.8 million penalty for failing to meet the same benchmarks in 2012. At a meeting this week, the state's Human Services Chief, Reggie Bika, informed state leaders that only 24% of low-income Coloradans who receive cash through temporary assistance programs were engaged in things like employment training. The federal government requires 40% participation. Bika says the Fed's formula is flawed. The Feds say Colorado needs to step up the effort to provide training and educational programs that help poor families gain full-time employment. Colorado is one of 22 states that miss those targets, and Bika says Colorado will likely fall short of the Fed's guidelines for fiscal years 2014 and 15 as well. This is another black eye for the Colorado Department of Human Services, which has suffered major setbacks in recent years, including being slapped with a $1 million fine in June for violating rules of a separate federally funded food assistance program. Bika says he is disputing the most recent sanctions.
Do you notice that when Vince is here, it seems to go faster than when Don's here? Is he faster on the button or something? We talk about Don.
I think it's Vince's personality. Everything seems to go faster. It's 4 on the floor time. Thursday night football broadcast. Who's going to show Thursday night football?
Well, the NFL started their own network, and the idea was that we'll put on Thursday night games. Well, what the NFL found out was that was a mistake. You were taking money out of this pocket and putting it in this pocket.
Right.
So then they went to CBS and said, "Will you work with us on it?" And so they put the games on both networks, kind of thing. Well, the NFL
until late in the season, and then I was like, "Where's my CBS?" Sorry.
But here's what happened. Is the NFL found out that wasn't the right idea.
No kidding.
So here's, to answer your question, and I'll end 30 seconds, I'll end on this. They're going to divide it among a number of networks. TNT's going to have some.
Oprah.
I think ESPN might have
HGTV.
one. Crackle. They are going to now maximize Thursday nights. They're going to say to Netflix, they're going to say to a bunch of networks, we're going to give you 4 games. We'll divide it up 4 different ways, 4 games.
Why wouldn't you put it online? That's my idea. Forget CBS.
Well,
let's go to the future. Give it to Yahoo. If you
can't find it on your TV, how are you going to find it on your computer? You can't even find stats when I ask you stats on your iPad.
Question 2. Bill Belichick has a black eye. Is that a metaphor for everything he's done wrong in New England, Mr. Paige?
He wouldn't say I got the black eye, but what do you expect? They won't talk about injuries. Why would he talk about his own injury? I don't think anybody in his life hit him in the eye, because then he'd start setting up video machines. But it is taping them when they're in the bathroom or something. I think that it is because to all of his success, and he may end up being respected more than Bill Belichick or Chuck Noll or Tom Landry in terms of number of victories, but he will never have the reputation of being a great guy, and the black eye, it will always be there.
Okay.
Figuratively.
I don't think anybody hit him. I'm over 50. I think Bill Belichick had to get up in the middle of the night and didn't turn on the light and ran into something on the way to do whatever.
Can I take 15 seconds of the next one?
Yes.
I woke up in the middle of the night last night. I went in to get some water. There was a plate that was in the garbage can. I hit the plate, and I am playing with the pain today. I gashed my leg at 2:30 in the morning. I'm bleeding everywhere. And I went, exactly what you're talking about. There's nothing good that happens after 3 o'clock in the morning if you're an athlete. There's nothing good that happens after 2:30 in the night if you are over 50 years old.
Could Kroenke, who moved the Rams to L.A., move any or all of the Denver teams?
Here's what I think. Kroenke is younger than me. He's older than you. The place I call the Can,
Pepsi Center,
is going to get old.
Yes, it is.
I could see him in 10 years from now saying, I need a new arena. And Denver going, walk, go to Portland or wherever you're going. The Nuggets are last in attendance. The Avalanche are in the bottom quarter of attendance. People here are not going to support any team other than the Rockies because they want to sit out in the sun, and the Broncos because that's wearing the badge of courage of having tickets. And if we have time, we'll get back to your rant yesterday because John missed it.
Stan Kroenke is one tough negotiator. St. Louis knows that. When he needs a new arena, Denver should know that he will be willing to move those teams if need be.
Does the Avalanche, speaking of Kroenke and the Avalanche and his son and everybody else, when they got rid of Joel Quenneville, how big a mistake was that in the history of this franchise?
Single biggest mistake in the history of the Avalanche, without a doubt. That is a good hockey coach, and the Avalanche, Pierre Lacroix and Joel Quenneville did not get along, and it happens. But it was a huge mistake.
Yeah, Quenneville, strong personality.
Yes, both strong personalities. So I'm not blaming Pierre Lacroix for the friction between the two of them. They're both very strong personalities.
Yeah. Quenneville had played here in for the old Colorado Rockies.
Right.
He came back, hard personality, but a great guy.
Yeah.
Loved being around him. He's a great coach. Blackhawks have just given him a 3-year extension, which is the reason why we're talking about this. He's won Stanley Cup championships now. That was a major mistake. However we feel about Patrick Roy and Joe Sakic, and we love them like they're brothers, but Quenneville was a better coach than Patrick Roy. Four on the Floor is sponsored by Citywide Banks, a family-owned, Colorado-focused business bank with 12 locations across Denver and Boulder. They have over 25 services that you need and will help you in your small or big business. They support Colorado charities. I love driving by the one on Hamden. I'll give you an example. Drive by and it fits in with the community. They fit in with the community. It's not a 50-story building. It's a nice 2-story building that looks like a mom and pop bank. And they're more than that, but they are a quality bank that represents Colorado.
I am Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
At Citywide Banks,
we put you first by exceeding your service expectations every day.
Every day.
I'm going to take credit for this because I've got Powerball tickets. Twice I bought Powerball tickets. I bought them over the weekend in case they ran out. I don't think they ran out.
What? Don't print more. They don't run out of numbers, Woody.
It's at one point. The latest estimate is 1.4 billion. When I ride in on I-25, they can't even put billion on there. It says 999. 1.4 billion. So
that's a lot of moolah.
Today's question is, what would you buy? You could buy anything. The Rockies, talked about it. And so I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Number 6. My favorite golf course is not Augusta. I couldn't buy it for $15 billion. But my favorite golf course in the world is Old Head in Ireland. And I'm a member there. And I would buy the golf course. I think I could buy it for $1.4 billion. And I'd move to Ireland and live in Kinsale, eat seafood, and I'd sit and look out over the vista of the Irish Sea, and I'd play golf every day at Old Head. Number 5. This would be, Jim Irsay bought John Lennon's guitar or somebody. Who did he buy?
He collects guitars. He has a number of good guitars.
So I want to step into the Jim Irsay world. I want to buy specifically the guitar of George Harrison that gently wept.
Okay, that's very touching.
Number 4, I thought the editors would change this. It says personal chief.
A chief? Like an Indian chief?
Well, everybody wants a personal chef.
A chief of police?
Everybody wants a personal chef. I don't want a personal chef.
How you doing, Chief, from that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
I want a Native American. I am 1/16 Native American. I want a Native American chief to live with me and tell me what's going to happen. We're going to sit around and smoke the peace pipe.
I think you were smoking something when you came up with that answer.
Oh, well, then you like number 3. In my house, in the back room, I want an In-N-Out Burger franchise.
Would you have a drive-through?
I wouldn't have to. It would be a walk-through, Mark.
No, I want to drive through. I don't want to actually have to come into your house. I just want the burger.
I'm not talking about you coming there. I want to be able to get up in the morning and go in there and go, I want the double-double with cheese, and I want a milkshake. A vanilla milkshake. The reason why I bring that up is I once had an offer. What's the ice cream place?
Baskin & Robbins?
No, the one where they had the stone.
Cold Stone?
I said I wanted a cone. I wanted a Cold Stone creamery. I said that on Around the Horn. They called me and offered to give me one.
Really? In your house?
And I said, did you come with a guy that's kind of wiping it and do all this stuff? No. But I thought when I had my house in Cherry Creek Country Club, I wanted one in the basement where I'd go down and I'd be there and I'd walk by and I'd go, oh, I'd like some ice cream. And so that was because LeBron James put a barber shop and a disco in his house. Number 2, I want a 747.
Well, at least you don't want a big plane.
And I'm going to convert it to a private jet, and I don't have to have any place to live. I just travel the world, and I have a bed on there, and number 1, an island in the South Pacific with a landing strip where I can land my 747. And because when I wanted to buy, and I have a friend here that knows, I was going to buy a small island in the South Pacific, and he said, what about tsunamis? And I thought, well, that's a good point, because if you have a small island, you can't get off. Well, if I have a 747 and a tsunami's coming, I get on my 747 and go somewhere else, to Australia.
You've got all the angles covered.
Yeah, I'm going to win.
Okay, I hope not, because I got stuff to buy. First off, number 6, a fainting goat. Everybody wants, when you get rich, everybody wants a monkey or a hedgehog. No, I like those goats that run around and you go, boo, and they fall down. So I want one of those.
Yeah, and so then you won't pay Manning because you accused him of being a fainting goat.
Yes, I did. It's very clever of you. Number 5, Notre Dame football tickets. I'm a South Bend kid, and I want season tickets.
Oh, wow. Ooh.
Oh, wow. See, it's my dream. It doesn't have to be your dream.
Wouldn't you say a luxury box? Don't they have a luxury box?
No, I want to sit with the peeps.
Oh, okay.
Number 4, I don't want a chief. I want a chef, a private chef, because I like to eat good food. I don't want In-N-Out Burger every night. I want chef, make me a rack of lamb, and then it's there.
How about a fainting goat, chef?
If the goat doesn't faint, then it's goat stew. Number 3, I want to buy a vowel. And why? If I got 1.4 billion, I'm going to buy all the vowels on Wheel of Fortune. Number 2, my own ski hill. Jason Blevins in the Denver Post this past weekend said that there's this dude in southern Colorado that has his own ski hill and selling lots on it. I want to be there. And the number 1 thing, especially when I'm on a show with you, I want more time. Because I don't get enough time.
Why don't you just give me $500?
5 more minutes, 5 more seconds. Okay. That's all I ask for.
All right, well, we got to start.
The bell rings for me and it's over. The bell rings for you and it's la, 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 la.
Okay, we have 1 minute left. Vince started this late. You weren't here. I'm going to tell you. I wrote a column once about buying. You know when you go up I-25, there's a ski area off to the right that's...
It's off to the left. Or there's off to the right. There's one off...
And the guy was selling
Does this story take a minute?
Yeah. So he was selling it for $1 million, and I thought, well, I can buy my own ski slope.
Yeah.
Well, I got off. It's called Devil something or whatever.
Yeah.
I got off, and I went up there. I wrote a column saying, you can buy your own ski resort. Well, I got up there. It was a double wide and ropes, and it was like from here to the roof. And I went, this is what you buy for $1 million? So you could buy that one. I'm sure it's still alive. And the In-N-Out burgers, I would settle for 5 guys and a burger if you're one of the guys.
Okay.
That was a great, fun show. And some of us even showed up on time. I hope you have a great day. We'll be back with you tomorrow with more fun and frivolity and fruitcake announcements on the Sports Show with Mark Kiszla and Woody Paige. I'm Woody Paige saying stay tuned for the news break with Molly Hughes.
Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom as the 2016 legislative session gets underway at the state capitol. By all accounts, it is expected to be a difficult 120 days with Republicans and Democrats digging in their heels on major issues. Legal analysts say we can expect a lot of theater, but not a lot of action. The margins are tight, with Democrats holding a 3-seat advantage over Republicans in the House and Republicans clinging to a 1-seat majority over Dems in the 35-member Senate. Analysts say those slim margins may create an atmosphere of infighting within both parties. All it takes is 1 or 2 people going against the majority of his or her party, and a bill will be held hostage. On top of that, House Speaker Dickie Lee Hullinghorst and Senate President Bill Cadman are term limited after this session. And so other low-ranking legislators will be likely jockeying to move up the leadership ranks in the next session. Hot-button issues expected to be battled out during this 120-day session include bills for gun rights, abortion, construction defects liability, oil and gas development, transportation, and minimum wage.